Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to a brand new series on transfers rumors known as the Editorial. Today is the first episode. It'll be hosted by me and Gyan, and every single week, hopefully, we will be able to go through and discuss a controversial topic in the world of football, be it something that I have a strong opinion on, something I just want to give light to or talk about. And for the first episode today, we're talking about one of the most controversial topics, especially in recent weeks. Concerning football right now, that is the Chinese Super League ruining football? And that's a pretty big question. Everyone has an opinion on it, but probably YouTube has leaned more towards the sign that the Chinese Super League is ruining football. I've been seeing a lot of that on YouTube right now. And I want to give the opinion that no, the Chinese Super League is not ruining football to the extent to which people are making you believe. And I would first of all talk about what the Chinese Super League is like right now. The Chinese Super League currently has managed to attract some of the world's most, has create players to be the most highest paid in the world right now. Look at Carlos Tevez and Oscar, are the two most highest paid players in the world, thanks to massive deals from the Chinese Super League. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the past half a year, you've probably heard the story about the Chinese Super League and how they have been able to attract massive players to their league because of the massive funds that they are being given both by rich owners and a state-sponsored TV deal. China investing lots of money into their league and hoping to create a world superpower in their country's league, and of course their national team, who they've recently hired Marcelo Lippi to manage the national team, and have a number of high-profile managers in the Chinese Super League. Luis Felipe Scolari, Andre Villas-Boas, Manuel Pellegrini are probably the best three there. Looking beyond that, you've also got names like Gus Poyet, who was responsible for Sunderland's great survival not too long ago. You've also got people like Felix Magath, who used to manage Bayern Munich, Fabio Cannavaro, of course won the, I think he was the oldest player to ever win the Ballon d'Or. Some other big names in there that you've probably heard of, and it just shows how much the Chinese Super League is growing. And of course, the main selling point though is the players that they've managed to get. Currently, there's some fantastic players that are applying their trade in a league which many people perceive to be way below their level. For example, we got Oscar, Axel Witsel recently moved there. Got of course Carlos Tevez, Graziano Pella, Jackson Martinez, Paulinho. A bunch of amazing players playing in this league, and the reason for that, people say, well, they're probably right, is these players are chasing the money and they're going to China because they're able to get fantastically higher wages than they can earn in Europe. However, is that necessarily a bad thing? Is the Chinese Super League really ruining football? Now, to start off with, I'm going to go with the yes argument. I'm going to sort of voice the main yes argument that has come to fruition in this debate, which is the Chinese Super League is ruining football. I'm going to say, yeah, it is, because simply Chinese Super League teams can offer European teams above the market price for their players, which makes them happy to sell. And of course, the main thing, they can offer above market price wages to the players. So for example, if a player is playing in Europe and he's unhappy and he wants more money from a European club, and a Chinese club comes offering, that Chinese club can be a leverage for the player. For example, if Diego Costa wants double his wages, like it's happening right now to Chelsea, so I probably should have a biased opinion on this, because as a Chelsea fan, I'm also a bit disturbed. I say a bit disturbed by the sort of the level of money that they have to influence the players at my club. For example, to look at it, Diego Costa wants more money. Well, at least we think he does at this point. Reports say he wants to double his wages. That is because if he's ever unsettled or he is looking out for another option, and he's not happy in London or in Chelsea or whatever it may be, a club from China, namely in this case Tianjin Quanjian, offered Costa 3 times the wages he was earning at Chelsea. Now, simply Chelsea cannot give him that money. Like it's not feasible for them to pay a player that much money. I mean, Chelsea have a sort of a reputation for being big spenders, but it's not as true as you may think. Chelsea cannot afford to triple Costa's wages. And the thing is, even if they can, once Costa does it, any player in that team, because any player in Chelsea starting 11 can reasonably fit into any team in China starting 11 as well. So you look at that perspective, if a Chelsea player wants to leave and all he has to do is get an offer from China, which an agent could easily make happen, get an offer from China, triple the wages, and Chelsea are stuck, because all players have to do now is act like knobheads and they get more money. That can happen to any club. Like, let's say, for example, I know Coutinho's already said that he doesn't want to leave Liverpool, but if he did, and Liverpool cannot double his wages, a Chinese club can, that's done. Like, they can't do anything about it. The reason they can't do anything about it is because you're encouraging other players as well to ask for more money. For example, if Costa went, then immediately Willian would want double the wages as well. Or if, let's say, another example, I'm trying to think of another club. Let's say, Yaya Toure went, and then immediately somebody else would come ask for double the wages as well. So a lot of players, or example, if Aubameyang was linked for a while, if Aubameyang was linked, Dortmund have to double his wages or triple his wages, suddenly everybody else on that team will come and ask for double wages as well. So the point of that is you cannot afford to do that, because once there's an entity paying above market price wages for a player, other players will demand that salary, and then the market price will go up and it will price European teams out of football. It will essentially, the Chinese Super League will price out European teams and will essentially get all talent for themselves. That is the argument that has been made by the side that is convinced the Chinese Super League is ruining football. I would like to respond to that on two fronts, two rebuttals I have for that point, if you will, if you want to use debate terminology. And the first point is, who has really gone to the Chinese Super League? Now, I've already pulled up a couple of examples: Diego Costa, Aubameyang, Yaya Toure, and Philippe Coutinho, and I pull up all these examples simply because they were all approached by Chinese clubs, at least allegedly approached by Chinese clubs, and they all turned it down. They were all turned it down because they want to play competitive football at the highest level. And China, despite the money they have, cannot offer the high level of football that can be offered in Europe. And it'll be years and years before that can happen. So who has really gone, big names that have really gone to the Chinese Super League? So scanning through it right now, Paulinho at Spurs, washed up at Spurs, not a good player anymore. He went there. Jackson Martinez, Atletico Madrid, may be one of them, but he's not, again, the first choice there. You got other better players at Atletico Madrid in his place over there. Alright, and looking down the list as well, Ezekiel Lavezzi being forced out of the PSG team, no longer starting over there. Gervinho on the decline at Roma. Ramirez on the bench at Chelsea, not getting many games. Graziano Pella, you swap a payday from Southampton to go to China, he's not a top player. He was a good player at his club, but he's not a top player. Papi Cisse also on the decline in his career. Carlos Tevez in the decline. Freddie Guarin on the decline. Hulk on the decline. Axel Witsel, arguably. Alright, you got Alexander Pato, definitely far away from where he was when he was at the best times of his career. So you sort of look at that and you say there are not that many top players at the top of their game going to China. The couple of exceptions is Alex Teixeira and Oscar. Now, for Alex Teixeira, he is, I think a large part of that is simply the transfer fee. Right? I'm not. This is a speculation, and maybe he is the one exception I can find. But with Teixeira, the thing about him was, Shakhtar Donetsk received an offer from China, which was, I think, 50% more than what Liverpool offered. So maybe Shakhtar Donetsk turned down the Liverpool deal, but accepted the China deal. Therefore, it wasn't exactly Teixeira himself choosing China over Liverpool. Of course, the story with Teixeira always is, oh, Liverpool's top transfer target chose to go to China instead of Liverpool. But we don't know if that's true. You know, it could easily be that Shakhtar Donetsk accepted the China deal, but did not accept the Liverpool deal, not giving Teixeira the choice himself. I think the other example often used by people who are arguing for this is Oscar, who is still at the prime of his career, and he is, in fact, transferred to the Chinese Super League. Now, the argument I have to respond to it is that Oscar was not playing much at Chelsea, and by the end of it, he was barely getting a game. And the last season of Mourinho, barely got to play with the Mourinho Gus-hitting disaster season. He barely played at all. When he did, it wasn't really great. Under Conte in the 3-4-3, he barely got a look in. He couldn't find a place he fit in the formation, and just, didn't get a chance to play at all. So that makes sense to me that he went on that front. People say another European team could have come for Oscar, but ultimately, when you are on the bench at Chelsea, other teams of Chelsea's level are unlikely to come and try to buy you. And he's probably more likely to go to China, become a club hero, play every game, and get triple the wages, as opposed to taking a step down in his career. That's logical, right? Oscar is not symbolic of a massive movement going to China. It's simply logical that you'd go to a club which is paying you triple the money or something of that sort. A guaranteed club hero from the moment you arrive, and you're not taking a step down in Europe and having to play against, Chelsea later on, or a visible step down within Europe. You're going completely left field, and that makes sense as opposed to going a step down in Europe and looking at you like it makes sense from an all-around perspective, because ultimately footballers have limited careers. It could end any day with an injury. Therefore, it makes sense that they go to China and make as much money as they can. Sure, the argument is Oscar is only 25, he's been on Chelsea's payroll for 4 years, surely he's rich enough by now. But of course, it's never enough for these people. I mean, that's sort of the law of self-interest. It's what capitalism is built on. People will chase the money. And if Oscar was playing regularly at Chelsea and then went to China, that would be a shocker. But he was not playing regularly. He was not going to get a move to this team the same level of Chelsea. I think then another rebuttal I have to this is that the idea of it is over-exaggerated. Just because a few players have gone, it doesn't mean everyone is actually going. The rumors of who is going are actually far greater than who's actually already there. For example, this window we've heard rumors of Sanchez going, we've heard rumors of Aubameyang going, we've heard rumors of Wayne Rooney going. Wayne Rooney and Pepe could be joining next year, but that's because they're also getting old right now. We've heard rumors of Sanchez and Aubameyang, both in the top prime of their career, looking at China as an option. Now, of course, this is coming from a media industry which is so used to, creating fabricated bullshit lies. And for example, in the summer, we've heard so many ridiculous rumors. Like, for example, the Daily Star reported Higuain actually signed for Chelsea, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is an industry. This media likes to sell you things, all right? And that's what they're meant to do. That's what clickbait is. The transfer window is the clickbait festival. This is where the media try to get as many clicks as they can on their websites or whatever it may be. And the easiest way to get clicks right now is to report your club's best player is going to China. If you can report that, everyone is going to click on that link. Everyone's going to click on that, pick up that newspaper, and it's going to give them money. So ultimately, the point of this is the players you think are going are not going, and they're much greater than the players that are actually gone. Aubameyang turned it down. Yaya Toure turned it down. Alexis Sanchez turned it down. They're not all running off to the Chinese Super League. That's not what's actually happening, right? Now, just because the media is making it look like it isn't true. I mean, if you try to convince yourself of something for long enough, eventually maybe you can think it's true, but ultimately it's not. You're convincing yourself of something because the media is constantly telling you this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Doesn't actually mean it's happening. The media over-exaggerates it so much to the point we think the Chinese Super League is signing top players when they're actually not. Now, going into points in favor of Chinese Super League actually benefiting football, I think the main point I could make for that is the fact that it is having a good trickle-down effect on the rest of Asian football. It's not really detracting from Europe that much, as I've already said, and it's significantly helping Asian football. Now, just the impact of it alone in China is great. The Chinese Super League has been, for the last 6 years, won by the same team, Guangzhou Evergrande. Now, other teams getting to spend money, we're getting a title race in, and of course in China, the most populated country in the world, they deserve their own football league. Now, they deserve that. Those people, they give so much money to European leagues, right? The Chinese TV deal for Europe, the Asian markets for Europe offer so much money back to Europe. I think these people deserve a chance to see some top footballers. Everyone deserves a chance to be able to see the top players in their back. That's why I support, in another episode, I support the idea of the Supercoppa Italia being played across the world in different countries. And of course, the Chinese people, the most populated country in the world, ultimately it's benefiting a large number of people. If we're looking at a purely utilitarian standpoint, it's benefiting a large number of people having these players at their clubs and at their stadiums to, simply to help create a love for football in other places around the world. To be a truly global game, you should be appealing to the entire world. And for these people who place the Premier League on a pedestal and, always dream of, having teams like that play in their own backyard. Maybe a child's dream in China is to go to a stadium and watch a player like Oscar play football. Now they can do that. It's for the most populated country in the world achieving their dreams of being a footballing nation. That can never be seen as a bad thing, especially when the detriment of it to Europe is not as big as you think it is. Furthermore, these Chinese teams playing in the AFC Champions League generates excitement for it. For example, the Chinese Super League got a TV deal on Sky Sports. Maybe to follow if this trend continues and Sky Sports continues to expand into the Asian markets, which this has opened the door for Sky Sports to come in and say make a TV deal with the AFC Champions League or other leagues around Asia. And when you have these top players playing in the AFC Champions League and possibly more TV deals on the AFC Champions League, you get other Asian countries, smaller Asian countries, benefiting from China in a trickle-down effect. For example, Thailand, where I live. my local team has drawn, depending on the results of qualifying, they could potentially draw Shanghai Shenhua, who are managed by Gus Poyet, and in their ranks have Carlos Tevez and Freddy Guarin. To see Carlos Tevez and Freddy Guarin come and play against a local team that I support over here, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic moment, and I cannot wait for it. That is the kind of thing that you can't say it's ruining football simply because it's creating such a net positive effect in Asia, and it's often overlooked by the majority of people that Asian football is getting such a huge benefit from this. But yeah, now more money is coming into Asian football through the Asian Champions League. More clubs around Asia are being able to develop their football, and ultimately this is helping a large number of people, a large number of fans, right? And you can't say it's ruining football when you look at a scope solely on Europe. You can't just draw a circle on Europe and say that is football. Football does not belong to Europe. It does not belong to South America. It belongs to the world. And this is helping a large portion of the world. It's helping the most populated country in the world, the most populated continent in the world. It's helping people dream and watch great football in their own backyards. So ultimately, the Chinese Super League has a huge net benefit simply because of the massive aid it's giving to Asian football to grow, and that it's not really taking away as much from European football as we think it is. That is because, like I said earlier, while people may be tempted and it may create an impact where above market price wages are being paid for players, the majority of players will turn down China to stay in Europe. Whether that will have long-term lasting impacts on the wages that are being paid in Europe is yet to be seen. However, the Chinese Super League is also one single contributor of inflation. The other contributors of inflation in the wage market is the Premier League itself, the Sky TV deal, which is worth a ridiculous amount of money and is also inflating salaries. If you see salaries go up, that's the single cause fallacy that it's only the Chinese Super League, because the Premier League TV deal is having the same effect around Europe. But no one is saying the Premier League TV deal is ruining European football. No one says the Sky deal is ruining football, because that money is being filtered around. 89 million for Pogba went to Juventus, 79 million for Higuain went to Napoli. The Premier League money is filtering through Europe, and it's improving everybody because of that TV deal. The Chinese Super League is doing the exact same thing in Asia. Asia is following Europe, and this is the kind of thing that can help us catch up. The other thing, and I'm not just saying from an Asian perspective, I've balanced the books. So I also have a Chelsea perspective as well, which I've been supporting for pretty much my entire life. So as a balance there, and also the Chinese Super League has put a cap on foreign players. All AFC countries are only allowed 5 foreign players. One must be from another AFC Champions League country. However, now the Chinese Super League is only allowing 3 foreign players at a time to play on the pitch, and they're also considering a price cap by the government to enforce a price cap on these Chinese Super League teams to make sure no spending goes above the limit. The league's unsustainable. Therefore, this initial burst of spending will not continue. MLS did the same thing, and the burst of spending initially did not continue. Indian Super League, similar thing. This is, of course, a much bigger scale than both the MLS and the Indian Super League, but it's not going to go on forever. It's going to stop. It's going to eventually not continue the rapid growth, but the small growth that it had is already helping the rest of Asia. It's already helping Asian football, and it's not detracting from European football as much as people think it is. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit the like button, hit subscribe. If you like this kind of video, please go in the description and subscribe to my channel as well, because I do similar videos, or used to do similar videos to this on my channel. So please hit like, hit subscribe, tune in next week, and I'll see you guys all later. Bye-bye.